Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We're excited to guide you through another exploration today, cutting through the noise to get to what really matters. Today, we're tackling a question that's definitely on a lot of minds in the market. Is Reddit a good buy right now? We've got quite a bit of analysis, financial data, all lined up to help us unpack this one. Our goal here is to really distill the key insights, maybe give you a couple of those aha moments, and leave you feeling genuinely well informed. Before we get started, if you find these analyses helpful, please do consider subscribing, maybe liking, and commenting on this episode. It really does help us bring more content like this to you. And if you'd like to support us even more, you could always consider buying us a coffee. That support is honestly what keeps these explorations going. Okay, so let's get into it. Reddit, it's been making headlines, especially around its recent financial performance. What's the big picture here?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is Reddit's remarkable financial transformation. I mean, after years of losses, the company actually achieved profitability in Q1 2025. And this isn't just a small shift, It feels like a fundamental change in how effective their business model has become.
Profitability after all that time. Okay,
Yeah,
can you put some numbers on that for us?
absolutely. So in Q1 2025, revenue reached $392.4 million.
Hmm?
That's impressive, right? It's 61.5% year-over-year growth from $243 million the previous year. But even more significantly, they reported a net income of $26.2 million. Now compare that to a $575.1 million loss in the same period last year. That's a huge swing, a $601.2 million improvement in profitability.
Wow. Okay, that's a massive turnaround. Just stunning. What about other key financial signs? Are they pointing the same way?
They are. Adjusted EBITDA, for instance, surged to $115.3 million in Q1 2025. That gives them a pretty impressive 29.4% margin. And their operating cash flow hit $127.6 million. That really demonstrates Reddit's ability now to convert earnings into actual cash. It signals, I think, a genuinely new phase for the company.
Right, turning profits into actual cash flow. That's key. So the financials are looking strong, but what about the platform itself? The users, engagement? How is Reddit growing its reach and, well, making money from its users? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Definitely. Reddit's user base continues its robust expansion. Their daily active uniques, the DAUQ metric, grew 31% year over year to 108.1 million in Q1 2025. And international markets are showing particular strength. Global DAUQ rose 38%. You look at markets like Brazil, experiencing just astounding 80% growth. It shows broad appeal.
80% in Brazil. Wow. And are people sticking around on the platform?
Engagement is strong too. Users spend an average of 31 minutes per day on the platform. That holds its own against, the established social media giants. But here's the critical part, I think. The revenue per user. Their current quarterly ARPU is only about $1.21. Annually, that's around $4.84.
Okay, $4.84 per year. How does that stack up?
Well, compare that to Meta's US ARPU, which is closer to $68. It suggests Reddit has considerable pricing power left, a significant monetization runway as their ad platform matures.
That's a huge difference. And it's not just ads driving revenue now, is it? I've heard about these AI licensing deals.
That's correct. That's become quite significant. Reddit has struck strategic AI licensing agreements, one with Google for $60 million annually, and another estimated at $70 million a year with OpenAI. These partnerships now account for roughly 10% of their total revenue. That's over $130 million in annual recurring income, which is pretty stable.
So it's a diversification play, but does it offer other benefits?
It does. It creates this kind of powerful flywheel effect. For instance, some of Google's recent search algorithm changes have actually increased Reddit traffic, maybe by around 40% year over year. At the same time, these licensing deals give Reddit access to advanced AI infrastructure. They can use that for enhancing user experience, better content moderation, and it's quite symbiotic. It positions them really well in the evolving AI space.
Interesting. A symbiotic relationship. That makes sense. So putting it all together, what does this mean for Reddit's competitive position? How does it really differentiate itself from the big players?
Reddit operates in I'd say, a truly differentiated niche within social media. It's not like Meta's friend and family focus or TikTok's algorithm-driven videos. Reddit is all about community-driven discussions through its subreddit structure. This creates really high-intent user engagement, which is, well, very valuable for contextual advertising.
High intent engagement. meaning users are there for specific reasons.
Exactly. They're actively seeking information or discussion on topics they care about. And the platform seems to compete effectively by offering better ad relevance because of this. User surveys actually support this. Apparently, 61% of respondents think ads on Reddit are more relevant than on other sites, and 85% use Reddit specifically to learn about topics they love. This quality of engagement, helps make up for Reddit's smaller overall scale compared to the giants.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's shift gears a bit to the stock itself. We've seen some volatility. What does the technical analysis tell us about its current market position, especially after that peak earlier this year?
Right. The stock's currently trading around $133.84. That's after significant, about 42% decline from its peak back in February 2025. But technically, it's showing what looks like a constructive pattern. It's holding above key moving averages. The 50-day simple moving average is around $108.18, and that's providing some dynamic support right now.
So a floor, potentially.
Potentially, yes. And we've seen strong momentum just recently. A 6.79% surge created a 3-day rally totaling almost 10%. So renewed buying interest seems to be there.
What are the key levels to watch them, upside and downside?
Key resistance seems to be in the $145 zone. That level aligns with quite a few analyst price targets. On the support side, you're looking at around $116-$122, which lines up with some Fibonacci retracement levels. The RSI, the Relative Strength Index, is sitting around 56.62. That's pretty neutral, suggesting there's maybe room for more upside before it gets into overbought territory. Trading volume patterns seem to support the recent rally too, and indicators from the options market suggest a generally bullish technical outlook, at least in the near term.
Okay, so the technical picture seems cautiously optimistic. Looking ahead, what are some of the key things coming up, catalysts or strategic moves that could push Reddit further?
Well, a really critical one is the next earnings release, set for August 5th, 2025. Management's guidance for Q2 revenue is actually pretty strong, between $410 and $430 million. The midpoint there, $420 million, is above what analysts were expecting, which was closer to $396 million. The consensus EPS estimate is $0.19, which would be a substantial year-over-year improvement.
So expectations are high for Q2. What specifically should people watch in that report?
Key things to monitor will be, can they sustain that daily active user growth? How is the international expansion progressing? What's the real contribution from AI licensing revenue now? Are they improving that advertising ARPU? And critically, are they generating free cash flow?
Got it. Beyond earnings, any other initiatives?
Yes, a few interesting ones. Their Reddit Answers feature has apparently reached 1 million weekly users already. That positions the platform more as a kind of self-sustaining knowledge hub, maybe reducing reliance on Google over time. They're also expanding machine translation capabilities. The goal is over 30 countries by 2025, which should help unlock international advertising markets more effectively.
And that memorable AI acquisition, how does that play in?
Right, Memorable AI occurred back in April 2024. That integration allows for predictive attention modeling for creating ads and automated A/B testing. This helps differentiate their ad platform because it focuses on optimizing the creative performance of the ads themselves, not just the targeting. Potentially more bang for the advertiser's buck.
And what about the wider environment? Regulation, competition?
From a regulatory view, the ongoing antitrust scrutiny of giants like Meta could, potentially, redirect ad budgets towards alternative platforms like Reddit. Reddit's more privacy-focused approach, less reliant on third-party tracking, might also be an advantage as regulations tighten. And their recent legal action against Anthropic for unauthorized data usage shows they're serious about monetizing their content properly through licensing. Plus, of course, any new AI partnerships beyond Google and OpenAI could be a significant boost.
Okay, so lots of potential positives and initiatives underway, but we always need to balance the story. It's crucial to look at the risks, the potential downsides. What should a curious investor really be aware of here?
Absolutely. It raises the important question, what are the potential headwinds? One thing that stands out is some recent insider selling activity. Executives have sold about $59 million in shares over the past year. That includes $4.1 million in the most recent quarter. And the CFO filed to sell 30,000 shares worth around $3.5 million. This coincides with an ongoing securities investigation into Reddit's disclosures between October 2024 and May 2025.
Insider selling and a securities investigation. That definitely sounds like a potential red flag. How serious is that combination?
It's certainly something to watch closely. Significant insider selling can sometimes signal a lack of confidence from those who know the company best. And the investigation adds a layer of uncertainty about past disclosures. It doesn't automatically mean something is wrong, but it needs monitoring.
Okay, point taken. What other risks are on the radar?
Another big one is Reddit's heavy dependence on Google for traffic referrals. This creates a real vulnerability. Algorithm changes by Google are completely outside Reddit's control. Their success really relies on staying visible in Google search results, especially for things like product recommendations or finding information. Any negative change there could hurt user growth.
Makes sense. The Google factor is huge for many sites. Anything else?
There's also the structural threat from large language models, LLMs, like ChatGPT. Users might increasingly just ask an AI assistant for information instead of browsing Reddit communities. This kind of disintermediation risk could impact user engagement over time and maybe even reduce the value of Reddit's data for training future AI models if users start bypassing the platform. It's a newer kind of competition.
Right, the AI assistant's changing how people find information. And
Finally, the valuation. At current levels, Reddit trades at about 17 times trailing sales. That's a premium valuation. It means the market is already baking in a lot of future success. The stock has gained 172% from its 52-week lows, which shows strong momentum, but it also means there's less margin of safety for new investors entering now. They really need to keep executing flawlessly.
Okay, so a premium valuation demanding continued excellence. We've covered a lot: financials, users, competition, tech, catalysts, risks. Let's bring it all together. For someone looking at Reddit right now, what's the overall takeaway?
All right, synthesizing all that, our analysis suggests Reddit merits maybe a 7.5 out of 10 investment rating currently. The strengths really are compelling. That exceptional financial turnaround, the diversified revenue with high-margin AI licensing, strong user growth, especially internationally, and that unique competitive moat. The technical setup also looks like it could support further upside, maybe towards that $149 or $145 range.
A 7.5, so positive but not a slam dunk.
Exactly. We have to balance those strengths with the risks we just discussed. The insider selling and that ongoing investigation are notable concerns. The dependence on Google is real. Competition from LLMs is emerging, and the valuation requires near-perfect execution.
So connecting them to the current price is now an attractive time, despite the risks.
Well, the current price range, say $125, $135, does appear to represent a potentially attractive entry point based on the technicals. It aligns with support levels like that 23.6% Fibonacci retracement around $116.30, and it's near the 50-day moving average. This zone seems to offer a reasonable risk-reward ratio, especially when looking towards those analyst price targets around 145.
Okay, so if a listener's thinking about entering, what kind of strategy might make sense to manage that risk-reward?
Given the factors, a dollar-cost averaging approach could be sensible. Maybe starting with an initial 50% position around current levels, say $133, $134, then perhaps add another 25% if there's a pullback into the $125 range, bringing down the average cost. And the final 25% could be deployed on a sustained breakout above $145, especially if it's confirmed by strong trading volume. That would signal confirmation of upward momentum.
And risk management. Where might a stop loss make sense?
For risk management, placing protective stops below $115 seems logical. A break below that would breach key technical support levels and would represent roughly a 15% maximum downside risk from where we are now.
Got it. And potential upside targets.
Target price ranges could include a conservative target of $144, $150. More optimistically, if they continue executing well, maybe $165, $180. Long-term, if that AI licensing really scales up significantly, you can even talk about $200 or more, but that's further out. Overall, Reddit presents, I think, a compelling growth story at what seems like a reasonable valuation for its growth prospects. It offers exposure to the evolving social media landscape, plus that interesting angle with AI monetization. It justifies consideration for a moderate to maybe aggressive allocation in a growth-focused portfolio.
What a fascinating look into Reddit. We've really unpacked a company that's pulled off a significant financial turnaround, fueled by strong user growth and these innovative moves into AI licensing. But crucially, we've also explored the important caveats: the insider selling, the regulatory probe, that reliance on Google, and the new competitive pressures from AI itself. So the big question I think we leave you with is this. In a world increasingly shaped by AI and these very dynamic online communities, how will Reddit's quite unique position actually play out over the long haul? Is that community-driven model, combined with their strategic AI play, strong enough to overcome the competitive forces and ultimately justify the market's high expectations? Something to ponder. We certainly hope this exploration has given you a clearer, more nuanced view of the Reddit investment opportunity. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and we'll be back soon with another exploration into what's moving the markets.